Hey, what's up? I'm your host, Bob Thompson, and welcome to Unleashing Greatness, the #1 show for people who are ready to finally start or scale their own business and do it successfully. Over the last 9 years, I've scaled my little basement business to 15 plus locations and several other businesses, but it hasn't been without trial and error and lots of adversity. I'm here to share with you the strategies and tools that actually work when running a business and how not to lose yourself while doing it. So if you're ready to unleash the greatness within you, let's dive into today's show. Welcome back to Unleashing Greatness. On today's episode, I want to talk about a skincare brand that I'm launching. And in particular, I want to talk about how this brand even came about, and then what has had to be done initially to get it moving so that we can actually launch. Now, you're probably watching this going, hey, you have great skin, Bob, and you have an absolutely fantastic beard, but I didn't know that skincare was a passion of yours. Or you're listening and you're like, I didn't even know that you were passionate about skincare. The truth is, I do care about skincare. I actually, in high school, had terrible acne, saw a dermatologist, and there's something I battled with years, and it did make me self-conscious. That said, I'm not the driving force behind this brand. In fact, it's somebody that I met over a year ago who is an absolute expert in the field of skincare. And she's been in dermatology for over 5 years. And even prior to that, she was already passionate about skin and everything related to it. If you were to ask this person any question related to a skin issue or a specific skin condition or something like that, it's almost like an encyclopedia where she could rattle off exactly what's going on, how it's happening, but in a way where you actually understand. She's not talking above you. She's talking in a way that you can truly understand this person gets it, and it's what they care about. And this person is actually my girlfriend, Z. And Z, her passion when it comes to skin is comparable to my passion when it comes to fitness and the business of fitness. So we've been talking for quite a while about kind of her starting her own business and going down this entrepreneurial path. And she's always, not always, but in the last year, gotten more and more excited about it. But what she's always been curious about is there's this one big issue in, that she sees with all of her patients and everything like that. And why hasn't something been done about it? So that's actually where this kind of came about. Is for years, Z has known that there's this need in the marketplace that hasn't been solved. And we wonder, because it just, to me, not being in skincare, I was like, this just makes sense. Why isn't this done? And when we looked into it, we're like, oh, it has to be something. So we looked into it, and there literally isn't anything, at least that we could find. And we dug in pretty deep, which then means with this problem, either it's been attempted before and it's failed, or it hasn't been attempted before. And if it hasn't been attempted before, you might be asking hey, skincare is a huge industry. Why hasn't it been attempted? Could be that they've already seen success in other avenues, products, and stuff like that. So why try and go a riskier route? Or it could be that, yeah, they have tried and they failed. And it could be because maybe the marketing angle, maybe the product wasn't any good, or maybe just timing was off. That is, those three components could be an element of it. Regardless, we know that there's this need for it. And the product actually came about because when you would have patients, they would come in with bags of product, 10, 15, 20 things they're taking in the morning, and then throughout the day, and then an additional 10, 15, 20 things at night, which that's just an overwhelming routine of, applications to hopefully get, skin that makes you look younger, it's nicer and stuff of that nature. And with that overwhelming amount of stuff, people either generally just stop taking it, or what they don't realize is they're taking stuff that cancels out the other products, or could be creating adverse reaction, and it can make your skin worse because of all the things that you're taking. And it just didn't make sense. So she's a busy mom who has a professional career and is just fucking killing the game. So she herself doesn't want to spend 20 minutes in the morning doing something for her skin and 20 minutes at night doing something for her skin. But she obviously wants to have amazing skin and does have amazing skin. So she's always wondered, how can we solve this? How can, especially for the busy mom, can we create something that's going to give them absolutely amazing skin, make them look super hot, but at the same time, not take up their entire morning, especially when they have a toddler running around wanting attention or needing stuff. So how can we make this fast and super effective? And that's where we started talking about hey, can this actually be done. So really the first thing in going into this product, which is the first time I'm going direct to consumer with like within ecom, or just actually even ecom in direct to consumer, is, hey, I have this expert because he's the expert. And then we identified a need in the marketplace that hasn't been filled. So once we realized that, and I should also say that we also knew our target market, our avatar, because it's essentially Z. Like this person that we are going to be creating a product for is Z and has the same needs, issues, desires that she has. So when we kind of identified, hey, there's potential here, let's fill this gap, to really get this going, we took a look at, hey, what is a potential marketing strategy? So we, taking a look at e-com brands that have been successful and, the marketing space and all that stuff, and then how we're going to do the sales strategy. But even before we got there, before we then worried about that or the fulfillment, which I'll talk about all that stuff on a later podcast, it was, how do we even get this done? So it was, hey, we have the skincare idea. So let's go put it into action. So the first thing that I did was reach out to people that I know that have a skincare product and exactly what they did or who they manufacture with or anything like that, and then got their advice. And interestingly, well, this isn't interesting, but if you're not familiar with it, it goes down the road of what most people, especially if they're marketers, will recommend when you're launching a new product is when you identify who your market is to white label an existing product with your kind of differentiating factor within your marketing and all that stuff, and see if there's a desire for it, see if people buy before investing in a ton of product. And, that's a great route for some people, but we really ran into an issue in that what we want to do hasn't been done. So we can't even white label anything. And then for me, when I think about what allows for brands and businesses to be super successful, a lot of times it's the results that are going to happen. And then also a unique product, and not just a unique angle. Yes, that's marketing. Like you want to put a unique angle on it, but generally speaking, there's a unique product of some nature, even if it's a combination of some basic stuff like Proactive or whatever. So when we took a look at that, the advice was, hey, white label. And, we got a list of who are the white label manufacturers that we could go to. But at the same time, we're like, hey, we know what we really want to do. Let's see if we can get this, custom made for us. Let's custom formulate that. And since I have a supplement company for the gyms that is a business-to-business brand that's for my franchises, as well as other gym owners that want to have like product that is super high and exclusive to them, like why don't we go to our manufacturer for that to see if he can do skincare? It's a pharmaceutical grade facility. It's freaking amazing. They have a ton of R&D and team in there and everything like that. So maybe they can do it. And if they don't do it, maybe they know who we can go to. So reached out to them. And sure enough, they're like, yeah, we've done this. We do skincare currently. And so what are you looking for? And since we had the expert and we knew who the need was, we're like, here's this problem that we're solving for. This is the product that we need. So Z was like, here's what we need in the product. And she formulated it, sent it off to them so they could make sure that it worked or that it could work. And know exactly what our essentially specs were for what we were looking to create. So now we're looking at, do we white label or do we custom formulate? There's pros and cons to each. Within white labeling, you're just essentially taking somebody else's existing product, putting your own label on, your own brand, and then putting out to the consumers with your marketing angle and your marketing avenues and stuff like that, and see how it does. And what a lot of people do is they'll get some traction and then they'll reformulate and make it better and all that good stuff. And that's an option. And we looked at that, and the kind of initial thing for us was more, we're actually trying to do something that hasn't been done. So it's going to be a little difficult to find that product to white label. And also the whole reason that we're solving this problem is we look at who our customer is. And again, this hasn't been done, so we can't actually white label. So let's look at custom formula. The con of a custom formula is it's going to take a lot more time to go to market, because if you're white labeling, you can already have the existing product. You can either get in small orders, 50, 100 to really test out, or you may not even have to get an initial order. You can just pay for it as it gets fulfilled and as you sell it and start getting some traction. So the obviously pro there is less financial risk in the beginning to see if this is going to work. Whereas if you're custom formulating it, that also then allows for a quicker time. So if you're like, here's the idea, here's all this marketing stuff and how we're going to sell, boom, let's launch this thing and rock and roll. That can happen pretty quick. With custom formula, one, you have to create the formula and get it going. So you have to go back and forth with R&D and all that stuff. And then definitely have an expert that knows what they're talking about. Then once they kind of put that together, you're going to get some samples. And then you're going to get those samples. You have to test it. Is it good? Is it bad? And for us, like our initial sample did not work. It was like a freaking brick. So we couldn't even use it. We had to change the packaging, how it was going to be. And for sure, there was a little concern like, hey, is this going to work? But knowing that this is kind of just the process, you're going to go through a couple iterations before you get that final product. And with great communication and feedback, and they would send us new samples and all that, we eventually did get this product that was freaking killer and we're super excited about. That right there means time. It's going to take a lot longer to launch this product. And that was something we were okay with because we wanted to have an amazing product to go out there. Because we know that if we can capture the attention of our market, speak their language, or creating something that's a little bit different, and then have a badass product that gives results, that's going to create recurring buyers. That's one of the reasons we didn't go white label was, one, not only was the product not there, we didn't really like the products that had the potential for white labeling that we least identified. So we couldn't quite get behind them. And we might be able to sell it with some good marketing and shit behind it, but is that person going to buy it again? So instead, we're really going to constantly have to build on buying, or marketing, as opposed to being able to eventually get a badass product that people want all their friends to use because it works so well that creates a lot of word of mouth. Like that was our goal. Plus, we also had to get behind it. So that was why we decided not to go white label and went custom formula, which means we had to create the product, go back and forth, a lot of time to really get it right. And then the other thing is there's going to be a lot, more substantial upfront investment to really get it going. So we're going to have to buy, like when you custom formula stuff, usually most manufacturers are going to have a pretty large quantity for a minimum order. And then you're going to order that, you're going to get it in, and you'll be able to sell it. And it's either going to be really slow or maybe it crushes off the gate and you got to get more product created, and more product takes more money and time. So you have to be somewhat predictive in nature of, am I going to make this initial order? Then do I make another reorder? Or how's it looking for initial sales? Like when's that date of me having a reorder? But reality is, hey, there's the risk that it just doesn't even pick up. So now you have a ton of product that you sunk a ton of money into that is just really sitting there. However, that's the risk. When we look at the risk reward, that is the risk of any business. You can open a gym and it can fail. You can start a skincare brand and maybe it doesn't go anywhere. Maybe the product people just don't want. That's the risk. So hopefully, leading up to this, you're doing enough, or we did, enough research to go, hey, people actually want this. So since she's been in dermatology, she's noticed this has been an issue and a constant complaint and a constant, problem that could use some solving. And then when we put together the product, like this is freaking badass, and the other research that we dug into for needs and who our customers are and talking to them and getting feedback from them, they've all been super excited. So really it's then making sure that once our marketing and sales strategies go into play, they actually, take off is, that's kind of the risk. We looked at it as, we'd rather take a much larger upfront risk and it not work, but have a product that we know is really good and that we really believe in, then testing it with a white label product that we then eventually would have to reformulate. And hopefully we already haven't kind of lost the trust of our market and our buyers, and then go from there. Not saying either option is right or wrong. I view things somewhat relatively black and white. So for me to get behind something, like it just has to make sense for me. And so for me, like with this product, same thing, like when I launched my supplements in the gyms, like they have to be the best supplements. When I'm relaunching, especially the greens, like it has to be the best greens. Now when we're here with skincare, like it has to be the best. Like that's just, I have to believe in something to sell it. So I have to believe in something to create the marketing, to create the sales process and stuff like that, and all that back end in order for, to move it. So I'd rather take that risk up front. Not everybody's going to want to do that, especially if they're more of a marketing angle, or maybe they just financially can't do it up front. They might test the waters a little bit to get going. But that's essentially kind of where we are, or what it took to get started. So I don't want to go into the marketing. I don't want to go into the sales strategy today. I want to talk about that. That's actually pretty fun. That's obviously what I love. Since I'm not the skincare expert, I bring that expertise of like the marketing and the sales and all of that. Instead, I just wanted to talk about, hey, hey, here's came this idea that has been stewing for quite a while for Z. Then we talked about some options of business and stuff like that. And we realized, hey, this is our customer. This is who we want to help. This is who we identify. Here's one of their problems. Here's how we're going to solve it. Now, if we want to get this going and we want to get up to 25 sales a day, 100 sales a day, 1,000 sales a day, first, we need to start with having a badass product. So how do we go about getting our product? And it came down to, do we white label or do we custom formula? And we decided to go that route of custom formula. Even though it's going to take more time and more initial investment, we think that the later payoff is going to be much greater as a result of it. So I just thought I'd share that with you, and maybe it will help you if you're deciding, hey, I want to do a e-com product, or I wanted to start a physical product of some nature and I didn't know where to get started. This is kind of how to get started. One, have an expert, somebody that's super passionate about it, and that they know this industry, the products, or whatever it is, services, but then really the customer, like the back of their hand. Really identify who your ideal customer is, so you can actually help them solve their problems and get rid of their pains. And then finally, next step, especially when it comes to a product, is determine, do I want a white label or do I want a custom formula? What aligns with me, where I am right now, what my long-term goals are? Doing that, that's how you can get started, and then you can kind of figure out who those manufacturers are for white label, custom formula, and all of that. So hopefully today was helpful for you. Hopefully you got some insight into a new project that I'm going on, and I'm really excited to share more about this. But then even more importantly, like a year down the road, looking back at this, we can say, hey, what's the success been so far? What has worked? What hasn't? What are these lessons that we've got, so that you can apply for your business as well? So if you enjoyed today, really appreciate it if you would share this episode with somebody else who you think might get benefit, or shoot me a DM. I am Bob Thompson. Let me know what you really liked out of this, or if you have some questions, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time. Bye. Hey, thanks for spending your time with me today. I made this show to help people just like you overcome the challenges and adversity that come with entrepreneurship. So if you know someone that could truly benefit from today's show, please be sure to share this episode with them. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week on Unleashing Greatness.